The NFL has been very active as a whole so far this offseason, and this is not limited to just one or two teams, as there have been countless trades, and it has been very fun and very entertaining to watch. And as I was recording yesterday's video, Tyreek Hill was traded in the middle of recording, so who's to say someone else can't be traded in the middle of today's video? The Kansas City Chiefs now have 2 first-round picks, while the Dolphins have none, and as we know, the Packers are in the same boat from the Davante Adams trade last week. That is, having 2 first-round picks. And in today's video, we are going to be discussing a couple of big NFL trades that could happen, and before we dive into these, I want to say there's very little at this point that is off the table in terms of possible trades. I mean, unless you're Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, and of course there's a few more, I'm just not going to name all of them, you get where I'm going. You can get traded, and we are going to break down a couple of NFL trades that could happen during the rest of the offseason, so without further ado, let's begin. And we are going to start today's video by discussing the possibility of the Panthers trading edge rusher Brian Burns to the Kansas City Chiefs for a couple of draft picks in the upcoming 2022 NFL Draft. Kansas City, as we know, just traded Tyreek Hill to the Dolphins and have the most draft picks out of any NFL team currently, and the likelihood they keep all 12 is probably pretty low, given they would have to pay all of these guys, and that can pretty quickly take up a decent amount of cap room. That is for all 12 guys, and how do you get rid of some of the draft capital? Well, trade for one of the most underrated players in the entire NFL in Brian Burns, who has very quietly become one of the better edge rushers over the past few years, yet very seldom gets the recognition he deserves. Brian has 25.5 sacks in 3 years, and while the sack numbers are not staggering, and admittedly at that, he displays an impressive arsenal of pass rush moves that at some point you would think translate to much higher sack numbers than what he has produced. And as we all know, sack numbers are not everything, and a player is not a first-team All-Pro player or a scrub because he has 14 sacks versus 4 or 5, you know what I mean? But get Burns out of the division the Panthers are currently in, and that have, well, 0 isn't the technically correct term, but less than 1% chance of winning that division, and give them more picks to hit for their future. Carolina is uncertain at the quarterback position, and if they have another first-round pick, which this trade would certainly require, they may spend either pick 29 or 30, which is the selections the Chiefs currently have, on a quarterback if one they like falls that far. This trade would require, we'll say, pick 29 because it is the better one of the two the Chiefs have, to go to Carolina, along with pick 94, which is where the Chiefs currently are slotted in the 3rd round. They may even get to pick 30 and 62, which is a very late 1 and very late 2 for Brian, but this would immensely help out Kansas City in their division, which is now, without a doubt, the most loaded division in all of football. Kansas City is a team that went to the AFC Championship game last year and have 6 selections in the top 103 picks, and they're also a team that finished 4th to last in the NFL in 2021 in the sack category. And it is worth noting they finished 5th in pressure percentage and 3rd in hurry percentage, but they will need to finish the job more in 2022. And when you're going for a Super Bowl push like Kansas City is, Brian this year will be better than any of the pass rushers they would hope to get at 29 or 30, and that even includes David Ojabo, who could fall that far as he unfortunately tore his Achilles recently. Kansas City gets a lot better in the present, and Carolina keeps on building and gets 2 additional picks with pick 30 and pick 62 in the first 2 rounds. And next we go to Seattle, and I'm going to preface this by saying Seahawks fans, and my boy Mike especially, will not like this, to discuss the possibility of them acquiring Browns quarterback Baker Mayfield. Seattle is a team that made the playoffs in every year of the Russell Wilson era, aside from last year, of course, where Russ was injured, and aside from 2017. This is a team that has had double-digit win totals in 8 of the last 10 years, and with Pete Carroll as the head coach, like love or hate Pete, he's going to do absolutely everything to stop a looming rebuild, and desperate times will call for desperate measures, and that's where Baker Mayfield becoming a Seahawk comes into play. Please know, this is not me guaranteeing it's going to happen, but what I will say regarding this is it's a low risk but very high reward potential here for Seattle, because Cleveland will trade him or even flat out release him before the season begins. But to ensure Seattle gets him, we have them trading a 4th round pick, which is number 109 overall, that they acquired from the Jamal Adams trade a few years ago. And is Baker a long-term franchise fix for Seattle? And probably not, and neither is Drew Lock, but with a risk this low, I do believe it is worth it to give it a shot. And again, this could work out to the point where he is just flat out released. And an offense with Baker, Rashad Penny, assuming he plays the way he did down the stretch, DK Metcalf, and Tyler Lockett. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that this is league changing, but I truly don't think it's woeful or bottom of the barrel, and that would of course be under the belief and assumption Baker is not 2021 torn labrum and seemingly every injury known to man Baker, and this would also be a great situation for him to get back on track with his career, because while it's a stereotypical belief that Baker plays better when he's an underdog, it's in a lot of ways true, and he wouldn't be more of an underdog anywhere else than playing in a division with the defending Super Bowl champions, with another team that went to the NFC Championship game, and with another team that snuck into the playoffs. Very, very low risk for Seattle to give up a 4th round pick, and again, it could even be a 5th, 6th, or 7th, because the Browns very well may be cornered into releasing him to acquire a player who at his peak can be a serviceable starting NFL quarterback. Next, we go to North Jersey to discuss the possibility of running back Saquon Barkley being traded to the only actual team that is headquartered in the state of New York, and that is to the Buffalo Bills. This makes a ton of sense for both sides, for as good as Buffalo is, they do not have a true number 1 running back, and it would make a lot of sense for Saquon to be traded or to have a change of scenery. I know the immediate thought with Saquon is he's been injured, and why would any team want this type of liability? But let's break down these injuries, and I'm not going to show them because of the ankle twists and turns, but back in 2019, he was injured against the Bucks, and the rest of the season when he came back, he was not the same. He had a game with 13 carries for 1 yard, for example. But is it really his fault during that game his foot got caught underneath a Bucks player and got rolled up on? Can you really blame him for something that happens in a game where 250-pound men are running 40 yards in less than 4.5 seconds? In 2020, he tore his ACL, which, believe me, I hate saying this, but it's almost common for that to happen now. Everyone at some point seemingly tears their ACL. And in 2021, he was injured by stepping on Jordan Lewis's foot when he was looking the other way on a play that happened well behind him. I mean, how bad of luck can you possibly have if you're Saquon, right? So believe it or not, I'm not on this train of, oh my gosh, don't even think about Saquon being a good player again, because we can say this the way it is. He's had a tremendous amount of bad luck the last few years, but also please remember within all of this, he's only 25 years old and his trade value is as low as it'll ever be. This could be made for a 3rd or honestly 4th round pick, and even then Buffalo wouldn't have to use him as a 300 touch back in their offense. Running back by committee would not be the approach either, because it would be Saquon's backfield, please make no mistake about that, but this would be a very good landing spot for him because the pressure is not on him at all the way it is currently. The Giants offload a player who has been pretty disappointing relative to where he was drafted, again for various reasons outside of his control, and the Bills have a grand slam, or this really isn't even a strikeout because they'd be giving up very little draft capital. It would almost be like a grand slam or sacrifice fly approach here in baseball terminology. And from New York, we go to Wisconsin to discuss DK Metcalf being traded to the Green Bay Packers. And earlier we discussed Baker to the Seahawks, and what I want to be clear is if one happens, the other certainly does not. But as of now, both of these trades make sense for various reasons. Seattle trades DK to the Packers for what we would expect to be at least pick 22, which is the first of Green Bay's first-round selections, if not another later-round pick involved, like a 6th or 7th-round pick, and Aaron Rodgers gets a weapon that would be better than any player they could take with either one of their picks, and that's speaking for 2022 at minimum. And even if they keep pick 22, they would be getting what would equate to the third or fourth or maybe even fifth best receiver in the draft, and as a rookie, they would not be better than a fourth-year DK who would pair very well with a four-time league MVP Aaron Rodgers. And in fact, I think this is the most likely trade we discuss in today's video to happen, because the Packers cannot roll into the 2022 season with what they have as a receiving core at the moment. Either they make a huge splash move draft night and go up into the top 10 to get a player they love, or they make a trade like this, and I truly believe one of the two will happen. The other, not being DK, would be involving either Seattle at pick 9 or Atlanta at pick 8, because both franchises need better players, and a lot of them because of where they currently are as franchises. Either way, I do think we see Green Bay within the next month or so, because the draft isn't exactly within 1 month, it's a little over a month. But one way or another, I believe we see the Packers make a big trade involving at least one of their first-round picks to get another receiver, whether that is for a veteran receiver or for a Treylon Burks or Garrett Wilson. 10 points in a playoff game is the latest image we have of the Green Bay Packers, and there's no doubt they want to and will fix that before the season ends. And it will result in them trading for another option for Aaron Rodgers to throw to. And with that being said, that's all I have for today's video. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, now is the time I ask you to please leave a like and subscribe to the channel, because it would truly mean the world. And until next time, please be safe and have a great day. Love you guys.